Day. Well, good morning, everyone, wherever you are. I hope all is well with you. It is wonderful to be with you again one more time on Untomato. I'm Dr. Uwa Onyioha Osimiri, and I'm your host. Hope all of you are well. And Untomato, for those of you who don't know, is words of wisdom to add to your repertoire. And that is what we plan to do today, share words of wisdom. Thank you for welcoming me into your space. I promise that I'll make it worth your while for doing so. This is the first of two segments on politics. And to help me to discuss this first segment is none other than Akachi Azubuike, an economics graduate of the University of Houston. She is the Eziwani of Black Frocan, African Vanguard. She's a journalist, photographer, and I should say, a creative writing genius. It is indeed my pleasure to welcome to the studio Akachi Azubuike. Akachi, how are you?
Hello.
Good morning. Thank you
Good
for
morning.
joining
Good
me
to see you.
today.
Thank you.
It's good to see you. I love your hair. If I had
Thank you.
any hair at all, I'll have mine just like yours. How are you today? I hope all is going well for you.
Yes, it's going well. How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm working amongst the living. Many didn't see this day. Is that not reason to
Yes.
celebrate? Yes,
Yes.
indeed. So I'm excited to be here today. We have a very important conversation today. But before we even get started, Akachi, I want you to tell us a little bit about your organization, your book, your magazine, uh, your journal, magazine, whatever you want to call it. Just tell us a little bit about it.
In short, Blackfrican is a digital publication that eventually I'll get to and we will get to as we grow staff for research for studies that will help further the future of African diaspora and continental African growth and development, as well as news and information that is pertaining to the continent as well as wherever we are in the diaspora, keeping us abreast of issues that we should be concerned about. The day-to-day news that we hear in our local news stations, that's wonderful. We need to be abreast about what's going on, but we also need to know about the deeper stories, things that are taking place, such as climate change and how that's impacting the continent with the spread of the Sahara Desert and how that forces migration patterns. All these things are important to um, to be concerned with because they impact all of us, even if you're not African.
That's right. So interesting. Recently, I was watching some people playing in the snow in South Africa. Can you imagine that? The snow in Africa now, something is happening, and we need to be very concerned. I'm telling you very honestly. So yes, indeed, because there are just some things that people will not report about what's going on
Hmm.
in Nigeria, and it's certainly in Africa rather. It's certainly a good thing to have, to be in the position to have something that will be reporting, what we need to know. So, well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's important that we have the kind of conversation we're about to have today. According to Dr. Carmen Hara, uh, if you believe the phrase that you are what we think, then life truly stems from your thoughts. But we cannot rely purely on thoughts. We must translate thoughts into words and eventually into actions to manifest our intentions. The topic today are our thoughts that need to be turned into actions to make change happen. Our topic is, how is Nigeria democracy working for the Nigerian woman? And if you're a Nigerian woman, you should really be paying attention today because it's about you. Sometimes, it seems like we are in the background, and not much attention is paid to what we can do, what our contributions can be in society. So we want to kind of talk about those kinds of things, what we can do, what is happening, what we're not doing, what is being done to us, etc., etc. We just want to just touch upon a few of them. And like I said, this is the first part of two parts. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, that's my favorite speaker. She delivered
Yes.
a keynote address at the opening of the ceremony of the 62nd Nigerian Bar Association annual conference on August the 19th through the 26th, 2022. If you haven't heard this sister, you need to try and figure out where she is. She's, well, number one, she's all over YouTube, so you can't miss it. Her name is Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Adichie. You need to hear her. I'm so proud of this Nigerian woman, and everything that she shares impacts not just Nigerian women, but African women everywhere. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. This is what she said recently. She says, make good trouble. She declared in reference to the late African-American civil rights leader and US Congressman John Lewis. Make good trouble. The call was made for Nigerians across all levels of society, irrespective of profession, religious leadership or affiliation, educational level, wealth or lack thereof, to act heroically in the most ordinary measures or extraordinary circumstances to uphold truth and justice, or for Nogu, to save the soul of the nation, Nigeria. But she's not speaking just to men. She's speaking to us women. What role do we play to bring truth and justice, or for Nogu, to the soul of the nation of Nigeria? So the question that we are talking about today is the African woman, in Nigeria in particular, ready to make good trouble? I've had many occasions, Akachi, that I have asked this question, and some of the responses I get is this: women should not expect men to help them in politics. We must do it ourselves and start our own political party. That's one excuse I've gotten. And another one says some individuals feel that it has to do with finance because it costs a lot to run a campaign and women don't have the money. That's another excuse. There's another one: women are not able to withstand the challenges of running, the rigors of running for office. And yet it's so interesting that they are parts of the world where women are winning, where women run campaigns effectively and win. I suppose the difference is when you talk about Nigeria, perhaps there's a difference. We'll talk about that. And then there's another one, that women will not support other women. Well, that's an old story. People are always using that as an excuse. That's not the point. Yes, there's some women that may not support other women, but there are lots of women that will support other women. So, when somebody says that to me, I say, let's not even go there. So these are some of the factors or excuses, if you will. But there are other factors that have been identified, and we're going to talk about many of them today. It is important, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, to understand women are part of every nation. There's an African proverb that says, one-legged man cannot go into the battle with another man who has both legs on the ground. Your woman is your other leg. You have to embrace her, give her an opportunity to help, to build the nation. When you talk about democracy, it means everybody gets a chance to participate equally. I'm from Nigeria. So I have a concern as a Nigerian woman. I've always wondered, to what degree is Nigeria's democracy working for me, working for the Nigerian woman? There's another proverb. I like to use proverbs all the time. And it says, Mkporosi alahalahi. Which means that when the Mkporo people start going home from a gathering, the truth comes out. They start to spill it out. Things that they would not say when they are with the group. They can say what is really on their mind on their way home. And for those who don't know, Mkporo is a small village in the eastern part of Nigeria. I'm from that village. So we're going to speak the truth today. So let's tell the truth today. It's important for generations of women to be able to address something that, quite frankly, is not addressed in earnest. We want to make good trouble. And for my brothers, understand, it's not about you. Nobody's picking on you. Nobody's saying anything negative about you. It's not about you. It's about us. What do we do? How do we make good trouble so that Nigerian democracy will start working for us? Nigeria's first democratic elections started after the military rule in 1999. But the proportion of women in all levels of government has remained very low. Although there have been, we could say there have been some improvements, yes, in the local government, there's female representations, yes, but that's a very local level. Is that enough? The low level of political and civic participation of women in Nigeria is disturbing. Quite frankly, it's frightening, because it tells us that we are inconsequential as long as we are not fully participative. As long as we're not fully engaged, participatory in what's going on in the country, then we usually accept whatever is laid out for us. We always seem to be those in the background, doing the cooking, doing all the little things. We've got a mind. Many of us are doctors and lawyers, engineers. We've got a mind. We're not getting those degrees so we get married and be in the kitchen. That's not what we're getting it. We're getting it so that we can use our knowledge to engage, to help. So this democracy we're talking about, if I don't feel that it's working for me, do you? Are you satisfied with just being in the background? Do you have something to offer? Or are you blaming somebody for our condition in the world? There's a survey that was conducted in 2021 in Nigeria by polls to gather the views of Nigerians. Hey, this is very interesting. It's very interesting because when you think it's the men doing it, I want you to listen to me right now and hear what the survey showed. And this was a survey to gather the views of men and women. It says that only 27% of the women said they were interested in politics. 27% out of 100. 27%, Akachi. Then another 6.6% said that the proper financial backing is not available to them, so they don't want to join the political arena. And a whopping 66.7% say they wouldn't join politics. 66%. If you're not a part of everything that happens, is politics. Mm-hmm. Everything that happens to you, the kind of foods that are on the shelves in the store, the kinds of roads that you have to drive your car in, everything has to do with politics. And if you're not playing a role in politics, you get the crumbs. But you cannot blame the men, because this survey also showed that 78.57% of men affirm that they will be happy to vote for a woman in a political position. Think about that. So we can't say the men are not letting us. This survey, I'm sure there are many other, and I'm not sure what the other ones show, but this one in particular, only 3.57% of men objected to a woman being in office. So whose fault is it that democracy is not working? Akachi, I invite you at this point. Your thoughts?
Wow. So I was surprised the numbers of the men that are willing to vote for women. So it's clear that it's women who
Something is wrong with your mic. Something is wrong with your mic.
Something's wrong with my mic.
Yeah. We're getting an echo back and forth.
Can you hear me without an echo?
No. We still have the echo.
Okay. Let's see.
Is there an echo now?
Just a little bit.
This is still a little bit. I'm not sure. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you better.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Okay. Well, in short, I would just say that to me, there's clearly a problem with women having an inferiority complex about leading, and it's how they view themselves. Their perspective of themselves is one that's not a role of leadership, but as perhaps servitude or, an assistant. And so women are not going to think about leading if they don't view themselves as such. Mm-hmm. Regardless of what men think, it's self-perception.
Yes, there is a self-perception. So, I mean, based on the survey, it's not really the men causing it. Now, somebody had indicated earlier that part of the problem is that in Nigeria, politics is so is rough, if I may use that expression without going too far, right? And so that most women don't like all the activity around it, you know, the viciousness around it. So they kind of try to stay away from it, you know. But there are some other problems, I think, and perhaps the biggest, as far as I'm concerned, because I don't buy into the fact that, oh, it's too rough, okay, because there are other nations in the world where it's rough too, but the women go in there and do what they have to do, and many of them win, you know. But I think that perhaps the strongest reason may be the financial backing. Maybe they don't have strong financial base. That may well be it. You know, many women cannot boast the kind of financial resources that seem to propel, you know, people who are, you know, the like former dictators who come back to office. They got all that money, so it's easy for them to throw their money around. And unfortunately, you know, and hey, let's be honest about it. Most women, and I'm sure there are some exceptions, but most women go into things thinking about the generations to come. What would be the impact of their presence, of their activities as leaders, you know, of a nation? So you find that maybe they are not as vicious. Their, you know, their concept about going into leadership is not about money. It's not about all those accolades. And I must admit, there may be some, you know, but many of them, if they have to do all that rough stuff, they don't want to do it. But again, a lot of them don't have the money. But I tell you one thing. My thought is this: if money is an issue, then perhaps we should bring down the cost of running for office in Nigeria. Because very honestly, it is very expensive. Oh my God, millions, hundreds of millions. So it's kind of out of this, out of bounds. That kind of money is out of bounds for a lot of women. But you know, the tragedy is that there are so many good women that can contribute. I'm not here to fight men or argue about who's running for office and who's not. I think anyone who's running, may the best person win, male, female, or otherwise. I don't know who that otherwise may be, but but the bottom line is, you know, may the best person win. You know, so if I see a good man who's running, I'm going to back him. I'm going to back a good, God-fearing, if I will use that expression, because that's what they use all the time, but somebody who really, really cares about the well-being of the people.
So do you think that men would help fund women's campaigns in Nigeria? I mean, they say they would vote for them, but will they actually put their money behind their...
Go ahead and speak up.
Would they go ahead and put their money behind their willingness to vote for women? I think is a question. And even in terms of resources from the diaspora, I don't see it, like, if the campaigns are too expensive, could diasporans support? We could raise funds to support those that we feel like need to help lead.
Yeah, well, we need one to have courage, to have the courage. Excuse me, just having. Go ahead and talk.
Yes. So I think that's one of the. I think there's solutions to all of the problems. There's no problem that we can't find a solution to, even if that means that we have to start cultivating leadership within young girls in Nigeria and elsewhere on the continent. There is a method to producing what the future of Nigeria needs, as well as any other African nation for that matter. So when I think about women not having the courage, part of that is maybe we don't know enough about our story, as what is the history of women in Nigeria? You know, who are those leaders? Who are those women who are inspirational, who can encourage future generations? I mean, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, just her keynote address alone, like she's inspiring to me. I greatly admire her and her willingness to stand up there and, not just speak to, you know, the inequities that women face in Nigeria, but she pointed out directly, like, this is what the Nigerian Bar Association is doing right now in this current conference in terms of its disparities with women. So I think that kind of courage can be, I think it's all around us if you look. If we look, if we look to our past, if we look to our present, even if we have to look outside of our country that we're in to other women around the world, we can see women who are willing to stand up and willing to act boldly, as they said, take bold transitional acts for the future of our people.
That's right. You know what? In the past, pre-independence, before we got our independence, like in the 1950s, there were women like Fumilayo Ransom Kuti,
Mm-hmm.
who fought for the freedom of Nigeria from colonial shackles. Excuse me, I'm just having there's something in the air here.
Mm-hmm.
So, pardon me.
Nope, no problem.
She was part of a woman delegation sent to London to protest the proposed Nigerian constitution. So I'm going to have you continue to speak. Let
Yes.
me get some water.
So one of the quotes that came to mind, I had read it just last night before I went to bed, is a quote from Fannie Lou Hamer. She was a civil rights activist here in the United States, and she was from the South, Mississippi, I believe, and she stood up, to the United States government, a superpower of the world, and she spoke. And this quote is what stood out to me. She said, "A lot of people will roll their eyes at me today, but I'm going to tell you just like it is. There's so much hypocrisy in this society. And if we want America to be free, to be a free society, we have to stop telling lies, because we're not free, and we're not free." And so to women who are, in Nigeria, and they are acquiescing, accepting this illusion or lie that they have the full citizenship, the full rights and privileges that they should have, they're only fooling themselves. And you have to just be willing to say it like it is, because you have to be your greatest advocate.
Make good trouble.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're too passive. I really believe we're too passive. I don't know if being passive is something that we've learned, something that society has taught us.
Yes,
Or have we become lazy? Or has it become important? In other words, have you gotten so comfortable that we just want to defer to somebody else? Let them handle it. Many of us, now let's be honest, many of us, but for those who want to make something, want to contribute, but don't have the finances, like you said earlier, if they step forward, if they just have the courage to step forward, then perhaps the rest of us can support. You understand what I'm saying? We just have to have somebody who is who has the courage to step forward. So way back when, before the independence, Nigerian independence, women were feisty, and our role in the country, we need to ask ourselves, really, what is our role? What role are we supposed to play in the society? Is it just family roles?
No.
Is that all that we're good for?
I mean, but if we look to who we are, if we remember who we are, we've always been multidimensional. We've always been leaders. We've always been business women. We have lived our lives through multiple roles in one lifetime. I mean, that's that's humanity, like exercising your full humanity. You're not just here to procreate. I mean, that's part of it,
You
you know.
cannot allow other people to define. You see, you can't talk about what people are doing to you when you allow it to be done. At some point, you have to take the reins and make the change. Just like Adichie said, make good trouble.
Mm-hmm.
He may rub people the wrong way because they're not used to that. They're not used to anybody, women being aggressive. They're used to, I look at I look at these men right now in Nigeria who are running for the presidency. And I'm not, I know who I'm picking, but that's my business, you see. But one of the things that I see is, where are the women? Where are the women around them to show that women are important in the whole scheme of things? But I see them clapping their hands, and I see them in the background. Maybe one token or two may show up, but I don't see them really playing that much of any role. Perhaps that will come after the person gets into office. Then we can see, because one of the rulers I really, really admire is the president of Rwanda. He has made it such that women play a very important role, in their society. I mean, as a matter of fact, over 50% of all the departments are run by women. See, I'm gonna be honest with you. When women run, if you have women helping you in politics, holding high office, they're really not interested in taking over from you. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're not interested in taking the leadership away from you. Instead, they want to see you succeed. Are there some exceptions to the rule? Perhaps. But for the most part, and that's what Uganda is experiencing, these women want to see the country move forward. So they work hard alongside the president to make sure that his agenda is met. But there are some countries that are run by women that are doing exceptionally well. So the excuse that women can't do it, some people have that excuse. I have mentioned that. But there are just some people who feel, well, a woman is just not up to it, which is a lie. That's an excuse. So if anything has to change in Nigeria, let us not just leave it up to the men to change Nigeria. The lizard said, you don't praise me, I praise myself. So we have to be like the red-headed lizard and play. You know what I'm saying? Praise ourselves and let the world see what we can do. As long as you sit back and complain about, oh, they don't let us. Look at the survey I just shared with you. It isn't the men that don't let you. You've got to make up your mind that you're important and you have a role to play. Remember, there are children, girls, little girls coming behind you. If they don't see role models, they will not aspire. Yes, they aspire to be doctors and lawyers and all of that. But how many of them aspire to be politicians? All those things are important. All those sectors are important. But politics is where it's at in terms of decision making, the direction a nation will go. We are not there. Only 3% of men say they will not support a woman. Only 3%. 70, what did I say, 78? Over the 70 something, 76 something. But only how many women say they could? Let me ask you, Akachi, you're a woman, you've lived most of your life in the United States. Have you ever found it to be that the gender to be a reason for any particular person not to run for office here? Has that been the key factor for them not running?
No.
What do you think is the key factor for them not running here?
In the United States?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I would, politics, wow. I would say, starting off with Wilma Rudolph, who ran for president. She was the first, I think the first woman, but I know for sure the first African American woman to run for president. I think, like, in America, you had to be ready to just go out and get it. So whatever it is that you want, like, this country makes you fight for whatever it is that you want. And so I think that women very quickly understood, after enslavement, post, African women are natural born leaders.
Say it again.
We're the ones who inspired the white women to, their fullness of their identity. Like, we weren't taking any cues from anyone else. We knew what it was to run things. So in terms of women being maybe dissuaded from politics, maybe because of they have a family, or maybe they don't understand what may be required of them in terms of what does it look like in terms of their family work life balance. But in general, it's just another profession. It's just another job. It's not something that they have to deeply, I guess, consider, other than, there will be some gender politics, that's part of it. But I don't see anything. We have Kamala Harris, and it won't be surprising to have a woman president in the United States in the near future. That's
coming. It's a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. Clinton could have become president, but all the, well, I'm not even going to go there. But I think it was derailed on purpose. But we're not going to talk about that. But I think that with the women in Nigeria are intimidated by themselves. Yes, I said it. Not the men. Not the men. If you stand up, they will support you. But are we prepared to stand up? Are we prepared? I'm concerned about our young women being prepared to lead.
That was what I was wondering, is what I have lived here my entire life, but how are women cultivated into professions in leadership and development in Nigeria that would make them aspire to that role as a politician?
Well, you know what? In the history of Nigeria, there really has never been a high percentage of women, that came out to indicate interest, to become, to either run for office or, to register. I think a total of maybe 2,000, and actually went and registered and turned in their paperwork and all that kind of stuff, So very honestly, even those that are more qualified than the men who are running don't. But there have been some leaders, some male leaders actually, that have taken the initiative to bring in some women, some like the former President Obasanjo and President Goodluck Jonathan. They selected a woman she was working for the World Bank. She was the managing director. So they brought her into the Nigerian government to handle the finance sector. Her name was Okonjo-Iweala, and she was formidable. She helped to drive both the Obasanjo and Goodluck's transformational agenda, in the financial sector. She did a lot of fiscal reform, and a reduction in recurrent spending and the neglect of capital projects. She went after it. She did a heck of a job. Well, now my question has been, since she plays such a powerful role and key role in what happened in the fuel industry, the fuel subsidy program, and the fiscal responsibility and all that stuff. What better qualified person did we have to actually run, for president? She was presented, she was given an opportunity at the highest level, but she has never expressed that kind of interest that I know of, to be at the helm. So what is that deter her? What is it that deters a person who has that kind of skill and many, 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 many more like her? You look at in the United States, the Nigerian women are powerful here. I mean, the highest offices, they are in there. But why do they not? Now, I know personally, I know a woman who ran, I mean, gave it her all, the most qualified. She took a chance and stepped into the ring. I don't want to call her name because she told me not to. She stepped into the ring, gave it her all, most qualified, PhD, knowledge, but you will not believe who beat her. You will not believe who beat her. Certainly not of her caliber, doesn't have her level of intelligence. So there is that is discouraging when you do put your hat in the ring and you find that you can't even beat the simplest minded person, because of gender. So the question would be, who voted that person against you? Was it so-called women, or was it the men? Or is it just election fraud? What happened there? So I don't know any specific way that they get women prepared for it, but I know that those who have really climbed high, have not really shown that much interest in going further. What that reason is, I don't know. But I do know, like the person I was telling you about, she gave it all. She gave it all, but she could not pull it off over this person that beat her. Unbelievable. Okay, so but women are at the lower level. You find a lot of women at the local government level. So that is an area that nobody fights them, nobody argues with them, or that's where they feel comfortable. Because according to the survey, the men are not saying no. But again, if you have the money, sometimes you have to, most times, not sometimes, you have to have the money, the assets, So, countless women cannot claim those monetary assets, to be able to compete with the kinds of people that are running for office right now, So I do agree that money could be a reason. Maybe the women feel that they want to save the money they have and don't necessarily want to waste it. I mean, when I say waste it, if they don't think they're going to win, they don't want to invest their money into something that they think they may not come out victorious. Okay. So let me ask you, when Adichie says, make good trouble, what does that mean to you? What does making good trouble mean to you?
The first thing that came to mind was stirring the pot.
That's right. Get uncomfortable, in other words, right? Get uncomfortable.
Yes. I've been told that where I go, I shake things up. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize it. But I think it's a matter of getting comfortable with shaking things up when you recognize that something is wrong and being okay with it. Mm-hmm. I mean, even if it's an institution and you have to stand on truth. I mean, that's the heart of it, is truth and justice. And so making good trouble, it's like what she said about people hushing her up about, her comments regarding the Catholic priests, to make peace, to be quiet for peace. Mm-hmm. That's not peace. Mm-hmm. I'm sure, certainly she has no peace. Her peace has been disturbed. Her family's peace had been disturbed because of what happened. So there is no peace. And in fact, it just festers. Mm-hmm. Like when you don't address injustice and falsehoods, it metastasizes in a society. So you have to address these things, and you have to make good trouble. I mean, it's the kind of trouble that's why I was wondering, are young women cultivating, are they being cultivated to do that educationally, to advocate for themselves? Because it's a level of discomfort. When someone told me that where I go, I shake things up, I wasn't sure how to feel about that. It wasn't necessarily a compliment to me. Because you don't want to be associated with trouble.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Well, unless it's good trouble.
Right. But just the word, like, even also, as she said, controversial, because
Yeah,
a lot of times, if you want to stand for any kind of truth and justice, then you will be a controversial figure.
that's how it works.
I
That's
mean,
how it works.
yeah.
You know, I'm not. I'm considered just like you said. Um, I shake things up. Well, I suppose when you get to be my age, it doesn't matter anymore. Let's say that's the good thing about aging, right? You're old enough now to speak your mind, say whatever you want. What could go wrong? We're all gonna die someday in the fields or in the bleachers. Just don't die for nothing. Speak your mind. Take a chance. But I'm not speaking for me. At my age now, I'm doing what I want to do. I'm doing what feels comfortable for me, what I think is helpful to society because of the philanthropic work that I do. That sort of thing that makes me comfortable. I speak my mind, but I at the same time, I'm looking out for the young girls, the young women who should be leading tomorrow. They should be the leaders tomorrow. You asked a good question. How do we cultivate them? We don't. We don't cultivate them to enter politics and things of that nature. We cultivate them to be doctors and lawyers and engineers. And then, when they achieve all of that, then we got to find them a good husband. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely, they must have good husbands. That's part of your growth. That's part of your journey. You go to school, do all of that, and the next thing is you get married for those who want to. But it's not a mandatory thing that you get married, but for those who want to, and then start a family, etc., etc., etc. But we don't cultivate them to become leaders. Now we cultivate them to become leaders of organizations, but not nations. We don't teach them what it takes to engage in nation formation. We don't teach them how to create unity amongst themselves, amongst our women. When you say the women don't support them, we're not teaching them how to cultivate that. We make them assume, yes, the women will not support you. They'll support you when you go here, or go here, or go here, but not here. What's out of bounds? Leave that alone. But then I go back to the survey that say it's not the men. It's us. We have to learn how self-determination. We have to learn how to be self-determined, to understand that we can contribute. Teach your girls that they can contribute to decision making outside of just one organization, but for the nation. They're going to be the mothers. They're the ones who are going to bring forth life. They're the ones who are going to train and nurture that life. Society is part of that life that they need to learn to nurture. You can't just keep them in the house and think that your society is going to do it. Every nation where their women have the opportunity to experience democracy fully does better.
Mm-hmm.
Can you argue that?
No.
No.
I mean, one of the things that I wanted to mention is the woman that you mentioned earlier who ran, or she held a high office, but she hasn't pursued anything beyond it. I think sometimes women also have to be tapped on the shoulder and encouraged, because maybe, believe it or not, she may not have thought of it, and sometimes people see things in you that you don't see in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've had that happen. I never thought about, well, when I was a child, but as an adult, I never thought about running for any political office. But
Mm-hmm.
it was brought to my attention like 3 different people now, like, have you ever thought about getting in politics? And I'm like, no. I'm shaking my head, no. But at least now, because they brought it to my attention, it's on my radar as, if that's something meant for me, then I should explore it. But if it wasn't brought to my attention, I don't think I would have thought of it.
I have two nieces. One of them has a master's in politics, political science. All right. And the other one has, she actually has her PhD in nutrition. But she went from nutrition, she got into politics. And they are becoming heavyweights in politics because they see the importance of being engaged, not as recipients alone, but as contributors to the direction that the nation will go. It is critical. It's important. Us Nigerians, start teaching our girls. Become mentors. We have, and it's not just Nigeria, it's every part of Africa. Every part of the world, we must encourage our girls to see, because they are recipients of whatever people put on the table. They say that when a child washes their hands, they can dine with the elders. We, women, should understand we have the right to sit at the table and dine with the elders. Make the decisions. Be a part of change. Just don't be recipients. So when you're thinking about sending your daughter to school, to think about, when you are giving her options, obviously children, ultimately, they will select what they want to do. You know what I'm saying? But if your child is thinking about higher education, don't just focus them on medicine and engineering. And all those things are good. But remind them that they may want to consider becoming leaders of societies, of nations, not just of their own personal organization, but of the nation. And let them know, don't say that the men will say no. Because I have seen men support a powerful woman. Now, I've seen some men not support as well. But you know, you did ask a question. Would men support a woman financially? Well, it depends on who puts their name in the ring. Let's back off. Even though culture, society, some societies may be patrilineal, there are some societies that are matrilineal. In my community, we say arasiku aleni. People, the child is from where the mother comes from. So they're supportive of the aspirations of women. So there are some societies like that. There are some communities that are like that. So it's not all men that are supportive, I know that, but there are plenty who are. You see what I'm saying? So I just, now somebody says to me, Dr. Osimiri, why don't you run? Oh, I will run for all kinds of things. I'm running right now. What I'm doing right now, I'm running because I'm trying to reel people in. Come on now, let's think about this. You know, perhaps, you know, but right now, that's not my focus. My focus is to talk about how we can help our young women, put them in the position to run. I'll tell you very honestly, if I know a young woman who says, hey, I'm running for office, and we check them out, and they mean what they're saying, and they're capable, let's support them. The future is in their hands. They need to play their role. They need to be part of it, not bystanders. Go ahead. Your thoughts. Go ahead.
Wow. my thoughts are just everywhere. I was thinking about just, you know, women sometimes not seeing what other people may see. And that is why we need, I guess, you know, mentorship throughout life, even people who can recognize these things and encourage us and, you know, plant seeds that, you know, maybe are meant to germinate and or not. That's really what I was thinking. It's just the role of other women
being role models. Being role models. And you know, our young girls need to see women in power. And those women in power need to make every effort to become role, you know, mentors to these children. And then the next time you see a little girl who says, I want to be a doctor, excellent. Have you thought about maybe being a president? You know, 9 out of 10 times, some of them will say, you know, they'll kind of back off like they've never heard such a thing. You know, me, president, impossible. No, it's not impossible. It's quite capable. As a matter of fact, my brothers, don't get upset, but it is what it is. Women are known to be better leaders than men because of our focus. No, it doesn't mean that men are not as good. That's not the point. I'm just saying that the point is that our focus is not power necessarily. And I'm not saying every man is out there just for power, but most women think in terms of, what do I bring to the table? What is my purpose of being here? How do I use my creativity to make the world a better place, to make the country a better place, to make the position I find myself in a better position, more effective, more productive? That is how many women think. They have emotional intelligence. We think in terms of, what if I do the right thing? What will happen to the society? Not so much money. Now, let me be honest now. There are some women who are power hungry, okay, and go into many things for money. But I guarantee you that majority don't. Majority of them think along the lines of, what do I bring to the table to make the world a better place? How do I work? How do I create collective responsibility? What tentacles do I put out there and latch onto to pull my sisters up, my brothers up, my children up, the society up? And many women think that way. You just need to give them a chance, and they need to give themselves a chance. We have to give ourselves a chance. Never mind whatever was or whatever we've heard, because it's always, words are things. The words, when words leave the mouth, they latch onto the mind, and sometimes they linger and confuse us and make us think what is it, what isn't is. You don't have the ability to do this, and you believe it. But there's another African proverb that says, if you're not chuck off, what you seek, so shall you find. What do you want? Don't make excuses. What do you want? There's another, I love to use proverbs. No great man or woman has any horn growing from their teeth. They're just as normal as you are.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of us trying to find excuses why we don't play our rightful role in society, it's time for us to make good trouble. I'm ready. Akachi, are you ready? Come on now. It's time for
Yes, I'm ready.
I'm ready. I'll support you. You get ready to run for office? Just say, Dr. Osimiri. No, I'm not kidding. I want to see some young women say, hey, we're putting our hat in the ring, because you have a responsibility. What is your purpose? You're not just here to inhale and exhale, make money, go to, that's not your role. Your role is to make the world a better place. And if it takes you going into office to make the world a better place, let's do this. I'm ready to do all kinds of things. That's my thing. But most importantly, I'm ready to back somebody who says, let's go. And I'm telling you, I don't want to mention her name, but she always says, Dr. Osimiri, when are you going to get started? She's asking me a question. Don't talk about it, be about it.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'm thinking, what role can I play? We all have a responsibility. Me, I know that there are young people who are very, very prepared, but they're scared. They don't believe they have the capacity. Or perhaps they don't have the capacity financially. Then where do we go? How do we support them? Now, you asked me a question, Akachi. How would you go about financially supporting a young person who's not in America, but in a far distant land such as Nigeria? How would you here support that person? What process would be put in place? Where would you say, where do you start?
So, I would say first it would be connecting with organizations that may be pre-existing, that already have continental and African communication. I think that's where it starts. And I mean, some of this I think it's simple. Okay, I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but I think we complicate things because we already have institutions, and so it's just a question of making those connections and more hands on deck to facilitate what we are able to do in the diaspora that supports the continent and vice versa. I don't think we have to move mountains the way that sometimes we think we do, because we already have relationships. And so it just would be a matter of seeing, like I met a sister recently, and I'll be quick, I know we're short on time, but she has an organization, educational institutions here in the United States as well as in 12 nations on the continent. And just right there alone, they're cultivating leaders.
Good.
So, I mean, you can start there with, planting and growing, developing leadership skills with those people, that they can be the future government officials in their own countries. So I don't think I think we just have to put our minds together.
Yeah.
And we have to not be afraid.
Not to be afraid. I think that's the word right now. Atulegu. Don't be afraid. And it's important for all of us to know, men, women, whomsoever, that when a woman or when your women are engaged, it doesn't diminish you. It empowers you. When you talk about it, that's what I said earlier. A one-legged man cannot go to battle with two-legged man. If democracy is to work, then everybody should have the opportunity to play their role. And the country grows, the nation builds when everybody works together. Unity is not just amongst men or just amongst women. Unity is amongst all of us. We need to have every human being who is a part of any nation should feel that they have the right for self-determination, to be a part of the building, a part of the health, the goodwill of society. Nobody should be in the background and just taking scraps off the floor. We have a responsibility. I'm excited that we had this talk today, but we're going to continue next week, the focus on politics with Ego Ndukwe, the president of the Mavericks, and her cohorts. We're going to delve deeper into the political arena. You don't want to miss that episode. Thank you, Akachi Azubuike. Please, to tell people how they can access Black Frocan.
You can go to Facebook, Instagram, and of course to Blafrocan, BLAFROKAN.com, and that's also where you will find Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's keynote address, as well as great information and just some culture. You got to get the culture. Like, we're everywhere. Many tribes, one blood.
Yes. Excellent. Thank you so very much. And thank you, everybody, for joining us wherever you joined us from. We appreciate you, and we look forward to having you join us next Saturday. It's going to be an explosive one as well. Thank you. Have a good day. Okay, Messia.
Thank you.